Welcome back, everyone, to a special series I'm thrilled to be hosting on LinkedIn called The Entrepreneur's Chair. Throughout this series, my goal is to provide you with authentic and intimate conversation with trailblazing leaders that are reshaping the Austin business scene. From startup founders to seasoned business moguls, we'll dive deep into conversations about their triumphs, their challenges, and the pivotal moments that shaped who they are as an entrepreneur. Today's guest is Kirsten Maitland, the co-founder of Rebel Cheese, Austin's first plant-based cheesed bistro. She has a background. She came out of a U.S. Navy veteran career, moved as a tech consultant, working with companies such as Microsoft and Expedia. And she blends this innovation, sustainability, and culinary creativity to reimagine what dairy-free can be. Her journey from the military to the kitchen is a testament to her fearless leadership and passion for doing meaningful, values-driven work. Welcome.
Thank you. What an intro.
Well, I've just been looking forward to this. I can't wait to learn more. And just what a journey that you've had.
Yes, it feels like it.
So I think you're the first person that I know that's gone Navy, tech, cheese,
yeah.
Right? And so what I want to do is talk a little bit. That's such a non-conventional but exciting journey. Mm-hmm. So what were the moments along the journey that helped you realize, you know what, I'm going to exit corporate and I'm just going to pursue my vision?
Yeah, it's a great question. I was in tech for over a decade. Really enjoyed what I was doing. I got to work with teams and help them improve and grow. It was very rewarding. The work was different each time because I worked with a variety of companies as a consultant. But at some point along the way, I really had this yearning to do something that aligned with my values more. Like I said, I enjoyed it, but I love animals. I'm, very passionate animal lover. I'm a foodie. Also enjoy vegan foods, and I, spend a lot of time nerding out on food and vegan food. So at some point along the way, my husband sat down and we said, he was also a consultant in construction, and we decided, we need to do something that moves the needle on our values more. We used to volunteer at animal sanctuaries and do a lot of that, but it never felt like enough. Right. So we were like, well, what are we going to do? And we saw this huge gap with artisanal plant-based cheeses. We loved to have picnics and date nights and dinner parties, and they were all centered around cheese. And when we went plant-based, we couldn't find anything to fill those needs. So we saw a huge gap there and knew we had to do something to fill that gap. And that's when Rebel Cheese was born. So we just kind of went for it. We didn't really do any markets or test out the concept, or that's kind of how we operate. And we immediately started with a brick and mortar in Austin. We just went in head first. We had no idea how it would do. A lot of people told us, we were crazy, it was going to fail, what a terrible idea. We heard that repeatedly, but we just still went for it. And we found like the smallest space we could get away with to kind of reduce our risk in case it didn't go well. And when we opened our doors, luckily there was a line out the door, and we were like, thank goodness, we might survive. So.
Well, you're that whole story where you build it and they'll just show up. It actually happened. That's amazing.
Yes. So we were like, phew, there are people who want this product. So.
Well, I'm really curious because it seems complex to actually develop a product. And I, from my experience out there are plant-based stuff that really doesn't taste good. So what was the process that you went through to develop just really good product?
That is the heart of our company. It's a very important thing that differentiates us. So we take the time, we honor the traditional cheese making techniques. And that's, some of our cheeses take several weeks to make, and that's truly what makes them so special, is that patience and process and constantly innovating and testing. To this day, we've been in business for 6 years, we still test. We're still trying new ingredients, new techniques. We always have tests going because that's what makes our products what they are. It's, the key thing that makes them special. And I really do truly believe the second we start testing, that's the second we're not going to be relevant anymore. It's what gives us our edge and, makes our products unique. So,
did you have to rely on, scientists or, to kind of create these products?
Yes, so it hasn't been a smooth journey by any means. We've thrown away caves and caves of brie, and there have been many moments where I wanted to quit. I'll walk in a cave and hundreds, if not thousands of wheels have black mold on them, and that's our best-selling cheese or brie, and you have to throw it all away and start over again. And because we're creating something new that really hasn't been created before, there's no manual that we can turn to. There are cheese scientists and cheese experts that we work with. One of them is called Dr. Cheese. We call him Dr. Vegan Cheese. And, even him, we'll reach out to him sometimes with a problem, and he'll be like, I've never seen that before. I don't know what to do. Welcome to vegan cheese. So there's certainly been some challenges, but I'm very determined. I won't give up easily. And I see, those failures where we had to throw product away or where we've had issues as learning opportunities that we can grow from and keep evolving from. And that really is another reason our cheeses are what they are, is from those failure, learn, grow, test and learn, that we've been doing for years now.
And what would be some of your best-selling products?
Definitely our cave-aged brie,
Okay.
and we call them our cheese babies because we tend to them every single day for weeks on end, and if you don't follow the process perfectly, then they have a temper tantrum and they have to go into timeout. That's why we call them our cheese babies. They require a lot of nurturing and love and care. And I think people see that in the product. And I've been told that it's the closest to the dairy equivalent. So it has the same rind as a dairy brie. It has the same creamy interior. But it's only made from 5 ingredients. It's just cashews, water, cultures, salt, and protein. So it's super clean. It's really the technique and those cultures that make it what it is.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's really fun.
And your name is incredible, right?
Thank
How
you.
did y'all come up with that?
Oh, that was a process too. It's kind of funny. My husband Fred, the other co-founder, he's an executor. He's like, let's just get this done. And I'm the analytical one. If he wasn't around, I'd probably still be thinking about Rebel Cheese, to be honest. And when we were coming up with our name and our logo, we went through hundreds of iterations, and my husband's like, oh my gosh, just pick a name, please. I can't take this anymore. This is going to be like a multi-year long process at this rate. But then finally, after we went through, like I mentioned, hundreds of them, we were like, this is it. And the reason we picked this name is because it's important to us, that it's clear we're trying to create something new and revolutionary here that hasn't been done before, so we wanted the name to reflect that. Yeah. And that's why we also kept cheese in the name, and we didn't, change the spelling to like a Z instead of an S. Cheese is derived from the techniques. We're still using the techniques. So we're being bold by keeping cheese in the name and not changing the spelling, but we feel like that's what we are. We're a bold brand with bold products that, are changing how, things are done.
That's great. No, it's the name. I'm always fascinated. When I did my cloud computing, we could not find, back in the .com, it was just like crazy. And they gave me like multiple, and we ended up with Quick Arrow, but it could have been Can Do It. And I'm like, oh my gosh. There was so many bad names.
Oh, it's easy to do. Same with the logo, too.
Oh, yeah.
The logo for us, I was looking at some of our old designs, and I was like, oh my gosh, thank goodness we didn't go with any of those, because they were so bad.
Well, something fascinating about you is you have surrounded yourself with strong connections, a lot of female founders. What do you think makes it so special to be able to find those women that are so supportive of each other?
Yes, it's a great question. Like you, I've been in male-dominated career my entire career. When I was in the Navy, I was the second woman to check into my ship.
Wow.
Yeah, there was a lot of resistance to that because, the guys, it was a fully male ship, and then suddenly there's all these women on here, and it was a huge change to them. And, they were like, why are you here? We don't want you here. You can't do the job, so on and so forth. And then following my Navy career, I was in tech, like you mentioned, and it was the same thing. I'd be in a room with, 60 people, and I'd be the only woman in the room. And, again, a lot of resistance, which I understand. It was a huge change to them. It changed their world.
Sure.
But we had to, respond to that resistance and kind of prove our worth. And in order to do that, I needed my tribe. So I bonded with the other women that were there, and together, we found ways to navigate those situations where we just weren't wanted or valued. That's the reality that we dealt with at that time. I feel like it's changed and improved a lot. Mm-hmm. But 30, 40 years ago, it was like, it was different.
Sure.
And, through that experience, I've come to depend on my female tribe. I think, women navigate sometimes different things than men, I have a daughter. My husband traveled all the time, so I spent most of my career being a single mom. Even though he's very supportive, his work required him to be gone. And really, I feel like women understand those scenarios and situations, tend to understand that more than men. And, having that understanding and connection is what helps you get you through those, difficult times.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I'm a chapter chair for the Women's Presidents Organization, and I found, it's a peer learning group, and it's just we have some conversations that are a little different than some,
Yeah.
and I don't say don't be in mixed, but it's just something special once in a while to be able to share some of those special things that we as women encounter.
And there's tons of male mentors in my group,
Sure,
too, that have been there for me through everything, that work for us. They were our friends before they came to work for us, and I depend on them just as heavily as, my women group.
it's true. Most of my mentors when I was doing my startup were men because most of those startups were men.
Exactly.
So all good. And I think the key is just finding people that believe in us.
Yeah.
And then we believe in them and we all grow together.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And then it's, finding, ways that you can help support each other. It's finding things that you have like in common, that, I'm friends with a lot of other female founders. Just being founders, we have that in common. And, you start with a connection, immediately because, you already know, hey, I'm going to be relying on that person, for questions and networking, and I'm going to be helping them with those same things because you have that one thing in common.
And I know you have a location in Austin, right? And then you also have another location?
In New York, in the Lower East Side. So this one's really fun. We kind of stumbled upon it. Uh-huh. It used to be another vegan cheese shop, and she reached out to us a couple years ago. asking if we wanted to take it over. And initially, we were like, no way. It's like, how on earth would we do that? We don't have time. New York's far away. And then we started looking at the numbers. And it's in a market where the rent is subsidized, so the rent is really reasonable. 50,000 people go through there a month, so it's great marketing. And we're like, oh, how can we not do this? And so here we are. But it's been fantastic. The team is amazing. We really enjoy it. It's actually worked out really well. And we want to replicate that model to other locations eventually in the future, to other markets like in Seattle and, San Francisco and other like high volume places.
Yeah, and that was kind of the question, right? Like, what's next for Rebel Cheese? I hear, what are you thinking about?
Yeah, so we're actually looking at another very innovative ingredient that I've had my eye on for many, many years. It's the one that creates like the stretch and the gooiness in the cheese. There hasn't been a vegan version of that, but with precision fermentation, it's becoming more and more readily available. So that's something that we're looking at. It's kind of like the missing piece of our puzzle. Is really the last thing that we're missing. So just, more innovations are coming. We want to do more cave-aged cheeses, like a cave-aged blue, Munster, stuff like that. And that's what we're focused on mostly in the upcoming years, just innovating, that continuous improvement. We're laser focused on that.
I love that word. I've never heard it. Precision fermentation.
Yes.
That's a thing.
It is. And it's fascinating because they're creating this ingredient, casein, for dairy products too, because in Europe, for example, they have very tight restrictions on how much casein they can use due to the environment. So they're also interested in this ingredient because they could create more cheese without impacting the environment. It reduces that overall impact, so it's good. Yeah, so it's not just for vegan cheese, it's also for dairy cheese, too.
Well, and that's what the question I had is, it sounds like probably the market you went after first or your target audience might have evolved over time. What did you learn through that process?
Yes, it absolutely has. So it's been interesting. I mean, when we opened Rebel Cheese, our goal was for it to be as inclusive as possible. That was really important to us. We wanted everyone to feel comfortable, no matter where they were in their journeys or dietary backgrounds. We just wanted to meet everyone where they were at. I've been to, vegan restaurants where if I wasn't fully vegan, I'd feel guilty, because of the messaging all over the walls and everywhere. And I didn't want that to be the case in our spaces. And, the other thing that's important to us that we firmly believe is that even if you just replace like one meal, right, say one meal a month or a week, if everybody did that, that could have a huge collective impact, on our environment, animal welfare, and our health. So, that's how we've approached everything. So when we first opened Rebel Cheese, we've always been, open to anyone and encouraged anyone and everyone to try our products. That's how we kind of set the stage. But we always expected most of our customers to be vegan because it's a vegan product. But that's actually not the case at all. We've done surveys and about 60% of our customers are not vegan. They're just, avoiding dairy for health reasons, or they can't eat dairy. Actually, like 65% of the population has some kind of sensitivity to dairy, whether that's not feeling good afterwards or being allergic. So the majority of our customers are just avoiding dairy or can't eat dairy. So it definitely shifted. And then after we were on Shark Tank, we saw it shift more to an older demographic, and it's mostly women. That's our customer base. So it's changed over time, but the thing that surprised me was the fact that most of our customers aren't vegan.
Well, you expanded your market unintentionally or
Yes.
unintentionally, let's say.
Yeah. So it's a good thing because, obviously it's a larger percentage of the market, and it's one of the reasons we've been able to grow is because of that. There's also a new allergen from tick bites. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's called alpha-gal. And it will, if you get bitten by this tick, you can become allergic to dairy and meat overnight.
Yeah,
So
I have heard about that.
yeah, and it's spread, and we have nothing to do with it. I swear.
Good.
But so that's becoming a top allergen, and we've had customers reach out and tell us, I didn't pick this lifestyle at all. I did not want to give up dairy, but forced to because of this allergen, and I'm so glad I found you because I can have a charcuterie board again, or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I hadn't thought about that. So I have to ask, what was it like doing the Shark Tank? You probably only get this question a million times a day.
No, of course. I mean, we're so grateful for the experience and the opportunity. Mark Cuban invested in us, and he's been amazing. One of the things that really surprised me from the Shark Tank experience has been the community that came out of it.
Okay.
So there's a Shark Tank group that I'm a part of that's been so helpful. And we've actually hired other Shark Tank companies to help with different things, like our email strategy and stuff like that. And the community's just been so supportive. So has Mark's team. They help us. They take time for us if we have questions. Mark responds to every single email I send him. I don't know how he does it. And in record time, and normally the same day. It makes me feel bad because I don't do that. So I'm trying to be more like Mark in my email responses. But no, it's been an amazing experience that we're very, very grateful for. Mm-hmm. It's, of course, been life-changing for us. It really has.
I am so thrilled to hear that Mark Cuban is genuine. I respect him so much for what he's doing in the pharmaceuticals area.
Oh, yeah.
He just seems like he's walking the walk, and so it's nice to hear that.
He really does. Anytime we've asked him for help, he's helped. We asked him to take some time to record some videos for us to use for paid media, and he did it. Wow. He's gave us an hour of his time and his space, and and it's of course helped us tremendously. So yeah, super grateful.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So, as a recovering perfectionist, when I saw one of your quotes, I was a bit enamored by it, which is, "Don't wait for the perfect moment, just start." So, what are some of the advice you'd have for aspiring entrepreneurs, especially women, who are still, got that I got this great idea, but I just haven't acted on it yet?
Yes. It's funny because I am very much a perfectionist, very OCD, and there have been many times when I've been developing cheese recipes. We always try them together as a team, and the team's like, "That's great," and I'm like, "No, it needs to go back to the drawing board. Like, no, we're not launching that. It's not ready yet, And everyone else is like, "I thought it was great," because I'm just such a perfectionist, and I'm nitpicking every little thing. But at the same time, and my husband has taught me this, if it wasn't for my husband, who's the executor, the doer, kind of get things done, I'd probably still be analyzing and thinking about Rebel Cheese. But he's taught me, that it's okay to, take baby steps and launch and get stuff out there. The best thing you can do when starting a business is to get feedback, right? Mm-hmm. You could spend years developing an idea or a product and then launch it and then find that no one wants it. Right. So the quicker and the sooner you can get that feedback, the better off you're going to be. And I do think that's something that's helped us tremendously because we have our brick and mortars and we sample our cheeses. We've been able to get real-time feedback for years. You know, when we first opened our restaurant, I worked there, you know, the first few years, and I would watch customers' reactions to our cheeses, and I've pulled SKUs, you know, because of that feedback. I've evolved SKUs, you know, some products that I didn't think were going to be bestsellers and stay around for years did because of that feedback. So I think the number one thing you can do is do anything and everything to get that customer feedback as quickly as possible. So, you know, ask yourself, what's like the smallest thing I can do to get that feedback? Because otherwise you could just be wasting your time. And not only that, you may never launch, right? And there's nothing worse, I think, than a regret. It's like I don't ever, you know, want to look back and wish I had did this or did that. It's like even if, you know, things don't work out perfectly, at least I tried, right?
Yep.
You know.
It's funny because you know, it aligns with technology, right? The old days where people would build this whole big thing, release it, and then all of a sudden it was like, no, build the MVP, right? Let's get it out there, test it, iterate, and you're doing that with cheese.
That's exactly where that came from, and that's what I taught teams. Yeah. I was normally brought in tech, you know, to work with teams that hadn't delivered for years. I'm not over-exaggerating, and then I would help them deliver in months, you know, or weeks. And not only did that help their morale tremendously, but they were able to get feedback. And, you know, you never really know until you get that feedback. Like, you may think that this is perfect as it is, or this is what's wanted, but you'll never know until you get it out there.
Well, and it's funny, I love the partnership between you and your husband, because it sounds like, you know, I implement EOS and, you know, kind of that visionary, big picture, but you've got to have the integrator to execute, and that's that balance that keeps everything going. So, you know, really nice that you guys can work together.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely comes with its challenges. But at the same time, like, there's no way I could have done this without his help. And, you know, that partnership has been very important. And we've gone through a lot together, you know, because we opened a restaurant right before COVID. And we were building our factory when we were practicing our Shark Tank pitch. Like, we built the factory ourselves. We built a lot of the restaurant ourselves. And so we've gone through a lot together, but couldn't have done it without him, without a doubt.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So I like to end the conversation with a couple of themes here. One is, you know, kind of what makes authentically a successful entrepreneur.
Yes.
What do you think?
I think it's just really important to focus on something you're passionate about. If I started Rebel Cheese for money and money only, there's no way I'd still be sitting here.
Right.
Because that, you know, not only did we not make anything for many, many years, and then very little, honestly, because everything's been going back into the business.
Right.
There's no way we would have gotten through the challenges if we didn't have that bigger why, that bigger purpose. You know, there have been many moments, you know, like in the middle of COVID where you're wondering, you know, am I going to be able to keep my restaurant doors open, you know, because we just opened. It's like you pivot and you get through that because of a bigger why. It's like, I have to keep this going because, you know, I want to have an impact on our planet and the animals and our health. And the only way I'm going to have that impact is if I keep Rebel going and keep growing it. I
love that. Going back to the why.
Yeah.
That's so important. Mm-hmm. And then what do you see how do you define success as an entrepreneur?
Yes. So, you know, one reason I feel like we've been successful is because we own our end-to-end verticals, so we do everything ourselves. Mm-hmm. And we've also, bootstrapped everything, except for the Mark Cuban investment. we don't have any investors. And the reason for that is, being a mission-driven company, we have to be very careful about who invests in our company, who works with us, who's on our team. That's really important to us. We don't want to bring someone on that makes us compromise on our values.
Right.
So I really do feel like, because we own our end-to-end and we've bootstrapped everything, it's allowed us to grow in authentic, true to our values way. We haven't, there have been many times, of course, where you're challenged on those things, right? But we've never, ever compromised on our values, quality, innovation, the things that make Rebel what it is. And we've been able to do that because we've been, very strict about, who comes into the Rebel world.
I love that. Well, I'm just going to be fascinated to see what the future holds. What a great opportunity to scale and new products. And I'm just honored to meet you and spend time with you today. So thank you.
Thanks for having me. This has been wonderful. Thank you.